Well, time to get back to Torn Between Alphas, I suppose. Not the first video, go check out the others before you watch this. Chapter 6. Lila and Callie go to the airport. Callie is anxious, as you might expect, but she's somehow hoping that the people at the airport will somehow reject their tickets and give her an out. And I know that Callie has already accepted the money, but she could still give it back and get out of the agreement. Like, it isn't too late to do that. Colton calls Lola and starts issuing more demands if they turn the camera on the phone on, which is honestly super weird. Just call them. But I'm pretty sure that it's his version of showing dominant, because it's weird if a human whips it out and starts urinating on everything. Ugh. Anyway, he tells them that somebody will be waiting for them at the airport in Oregon and promptly hangs up. Lola then comments that both of them will have lost their blocked caves to donkey holes, but apparently personality doesn't matter so long as the guy is hot. Wrong message to be sending here, app. However, Lola offers to murder Colton if Callie asks, which she couldn't need a friend to murder for her if said friend hadn't set her up with a skeezy deal in the first place. Callie also makes a weird joke about asking Alex to take her blocked cave instead. Lola seems more concerned over Callie's bank account than Callie's safety or emotional well-being. We skip over to the plane landing, and I'm thankful for that small mercy of not having to read about the tedious flight. However, I have questions about the plane since they just go down some stairs to the tarmac, and what year is it? We also have to read about them getting their luggage because priorities, I guess. As Callie grabs her suitcase off from the carousel, she thinks about how weird that the situation is right now. She worries that Colton could be, and I quote, a serial killer, which is probably a super reasonable thought to be having right now. Lola tries to calm Callie down by reminding Callie of what's going to happen, which, this girl is the absolute worst friend right now. Not only did she talk Callie into doing this, but she's also failing to read the room, so to speak. Right now, being reminded of what's to come seems like the absolute last thing Callie needs. The two of them then decide that they're going to get food and wander around for a reported 10 minutes before getting giant soft pretzels. They then go down to the main area where a man is waiting with a sign with their names. He's grumpy because he probably knew that their flight had already come in, but they didn't show up because clearly Lola has her priorities in order. Exactly how rude and out of touch do you have to be? They knew that somebody was going to be waiting for them, but they decided to not only go get food, but to take their time about the entire thing too. Even Callie is starting to question Lola's motives. However, she's not commenting about how rude that Lola is being, but like the weird legal situation that they're in and how Colton probably has a lot of money to throw around. If this man had money, he probably could be acquitted before going to any trial for killing us. I get where Callie is coming from, but at the same time, she says this literally in the same breath where she's questioning why Lola was being rude to the man sent to pick them up. In the car, Lola pulls out a pocket knife with the implication that she'll use it on Colton if he tries to hurt either of them. Which, I'm not exactly a self-defense expert by any means, but I'm fairly certain that a tiny knife probably would do more harm to Lola and Callie in the long run if they actually needed to use it against Colton. Callie just feels like she's going to be physically sick as the car starts moving. She also feels like she's going to wake up from this at any moment. And with that, the chapter comes to a rather disappointing close. Enough padding, get to the point already. Chapter 7. Despite Callie's misgivings, she apparently fell asleep in the car, and I don't really know how long that the drive from the airport to wherever is, but either way, I feel like it raises several more questions. Lola, as usual, continues to be the absolute friend of the year and complains about how difficult it is to wake Callie up. The driver speeds off as soon as he dumps the girls out onto the curb. Red flag number 1. They walk up to a house and Callie notes that there's literally nothing around but forest. Red flag number 2. Lola knocks on the door and has to knock a second time after there's no response. Colton shows up finally with a woman who is completely naked and has hickeys on her neck. I feel like that's 3 strikes you're out. Lola finally finds something to be outraged about and yells at Colton that there was no agreement to a threesome or any other third party, that Colton brought Callie there under false pretenses. He says that he's not going to remove Callie's blocked cave and then immediately says that she's a present for someone. Are you the Communist Manifesto? Because that's a big red flag. And then Colton has the audacity to ask for the authentication of Callie's blocked cave, which don't know of a single doctor who would actually do something like that, but sure. He goes on to say that nobody had ever actually asked that Colton would be the one to remove Callie's blocked cave, but I feel like nobody would actually take Colton's side in a legal issue like that. Not when this issue involves something as icky as a word that starts with P and is illegal. He then starts demanding that they go meet the guy that he brought Callie for, like they are literally not even given a choice in the matter. Lola says no, but Colton continues to insist. Callie seems to think that she should just go along with whatever he wants, so Lola gives her the pocket knife before she leaves. As Callie is going, she worries that this is going to be the sugar daddy that she'd worried would win her auction. Gross, fat, and doing the greatest fashion sin of all, male jewelry. Colton knocks on the door, calling out to somebody only named as brother before he shoves Callie into the room. He asks like Callie is his object, calling her a present for his brother, and stating that he bought her. For all the good it is, I feel like he should have just brought his brother a thing that starts with the flesh and ends with the light. Don't Google that if you don't know what it is, because it is naughty. Colton then goes a step further and starts to graphically describe what it's like to physically be with somebody in possession of a blocked cave. At least the brother seems to find this rather abhorrent, although he doesn't stop Colton from saying anything. But then again, the bar is literally so low that James Cameron went looking for it. When Colton says how much he paid for Callie, the brother is... I'm not quite sure what word to describe what his reaction is. I'm going to go for a mixture of shock and horror just to keep myself sane. He seems more upset that Colton is literally just throwing money around and threatens to take over the accounts. No comment over Colton literally having paid the money for the pleasure of happy female fun times with a blocked cave owner. Colton is more concerned that Xavier, he finally got a name, hasn't had a happy female fun times in a really long time. Xavier calls Callie a word that starts with a P and is illegal, and despite Callie arguing with him, the truth of the matter is that she is. She is literally exchanging use of her body for money. That is the legal definition of that word. Colton then convinces Xavier to have his way with Callie since she'll be there for the next... I'm sorry, did that say 2 weeks? Oh, heck no. Before Colton leaves, he mixes up the name of the naked girl he was with earlier, and when called out on it, he says it doesn't matter. He calls her the B word. What a charming guy. Said no one ever. However, Callie finally snaps when he says that Callie's friend will be a freebie for him, and she slaps him. Xavier has to hold his brother back from attacking Callie. Colton goes, but tells Xavier to punish the little rat. Once Colton is gone, Xavier gets really close to Callie and tells her not to disrespect them again and then to get out. However, for some unholy reason, Callie is insanely turned on right then, which just makes this story even worse. Callie runs downstairs to where Lola is. They start to hear happy fun time noises from another room as Lola asks what happened. Callie explains that she was given to the brother and they're both donkey holes. However, despite all of this, Lola continues to tell Callie to go along with it. To make matters worse, she reminds Callie that her mother is sick and that they need the money. Oh, and I'm pretty sure that Callie is a prisoner in the house for the next 2 weeks. Like, people, if you're in a situation where you feel like you might end up being injured or even killed if you say no, then that yes is not consent. And, whoo boy, I feel like this story went from creepy and not okay to not even Satan himself has a circle of hell for people who think that stuff like this is ever okay. I wasn't sure how this story could possibly get worse, but it was like the author was challenging themselves to just make the worst possible story in the history of questionable stories. Anyway, that's this video. I'll see you when I see you for the next installment.